My PhD is focused on how we can evaluate upland blanket peatland restoration. Now, Bolton Fell Moss, which is just behind us here, is a lowland raised bog, so slightly different to the upland blanket peatlands that I work on. This was the first peat bog that I ever came across once I started my PhD. 7 months after I started my PhD, I came to my first peat site due to the pandemic, and it was this bog, so it really resonates with me that this was my first experience of a peat bog. And Bolton Fell Moss is a fantastic place. The history of this site is super unique, and because of that, the research and the techniques that have been applied at this site are fascinating, and I've spent a lot of my time working with those who did the restoration and working as a scientist to actually look at the restoration works and evaluate the science that was used as part of this. My science head and my carbon head says that peatlands are our largest terrestrial store of carbon on the planet. They store over 550 billion tonnes of carbon, maybe even up to 612 billion tonnes, I believe, has been stated in recent literature. And they only make up about 3% of the land area. So a tiny proportion of the land makes up the largest store of carbon on the land. And they're only second behind the world's oceans when we look at total carbon storage on our globe. So they're huge potent stores of carbon, and that's really important. The carbon cycle is a closed system, and at the minute we're experiencing our carbon being in the wrong place. It's in our atmosphere and it's causing a greenhouse gas effect, and it's warming our planet. Whereas peat, carbon is in the ground, and we can lock that carbon in the ground through the sequestration from plants. When those plants perish, they stay pickled almost in peat because it's so wet, and it stores that carbon, it stops that carbon getting back into the atmosphere. So that's why peatlands are so important. But this site and the projects I've been on, one of them called the Moss of Many Layers, it's really opened my eyes to the other benefits of our peatlands. It's not just about carbon, but it's about biodiversity. It's about the cultural benefits of just coming to these places, having a walk around. It's a tranquil nature, it's a great head clearer. Someone was saying, oh, you must love coming out on the bog in the last couple of months of your PhD. It stops you looking at a screen, and I couldn't agree with them more. There was a time 2 years ago when I was out on them every week getting data in the wind and hail, just dreading a fieldwork trip. But now coming out on the bog, it's such a fantastic experience. I really learned that there's no point doing the science if you can't express it in a meaningful way to those who use and experience this environment and who care and who are just as close to it as I might be. For me, learning how to portray science through the arts was a fantastic experience and really opened my eyes to the wider benefits of our bogs, but also how we can engage with our peatlands. Carbon can seem quite an arbitrary figure when someone says, oh, it stores as much carbon as 6,000 trips to New York and back. It's a fantastic figure and a great analogy, but actually, what does that mean? What does that mean to the farmers around the slag? What does that mean to the local schools and communities? What does that mean to the activist? What does that mean to all these other different people from different walks of life? And that's why an event like this today is fantastic. You can see all those different perspectives, and you can all work together holistically to engage and have your say about why this place is important to you, and how can we push that? How can we push that in policy? There's people here from government today who have a genuine impact on how we move forward, how we measure the success of restoration, how we measure the benefits, the ecosystem services of our bogs. And being able to have your say with all these people today is a really useful exercise.